Welcome to a Telltale Books video. I'm Greg, and here to talk to you about the next in my Francis Stevens series, The Citadel of Fear. The Citadel of Fear is the fifth work published by Francis Stevens. It's a novel, and it was serialized in the Argosy magazine from September 14th to October 26th, the Argosy being a weekly magazine, in 1918, so a total of 7 parts. It's listed in Fantasy, the 100 Best Books, written by James Cawthorne and Michael Moorcock. In looking for a copy to read and a copy from my collection, I didn't really see anything that I feel is nicely collectible, like these sun tubs back here. I did come across a paperback library book from the early 70s which has a beautiful illustration. I forget who did it, but I really like the illustration. And it doesn't say in here who did it. But it's a wraparound illustration. Very nicely done. So there is that one available. And I got a really, really nice copy. I would consider it fine condition. So as paperbacks go, that's fairly collectible, I think. Otherwise, armchair fiction. It's in their Lost World, Lost Race Classics number 4, which currently totals, I think, like 66 or 69 volumes. This is Citadel of Fear with, usually they just find some kind of pulp magazine illustration that sort of fits it. It's often not actually an illustration of the book in question here. A lot of times it's an illustration for something else, but in this case, it's got the elements of the story in it. The Aztec, a European guy exploring, and the dog, although the dog looks more gray than white. Anyway, you can get this brand new. So if you're not looking for something really collectible, I mean, these are nice books as they are. You know, it's an oversized paperback. It's fairly well made. It's got a nice sturdy cover. It's going to hold up. But as far as collectible, I don't think I would consider this a collector's item. Maybe 40 years from now, people will be going, armchair classics, I got to get the whole series, you know, like they do Ace Doubles now or stuff like that. But for right now, nobody's doing that, and so the armchair classics are not all that collectible. But if you're on a budget, and, well, let me get into the story. Two main characters, Colin O'Hara and Mr. Kennedy, and they're walking through the desert in Mexico. They're out searching for some kind of treasures. They want to strike it rich, and so they're out scouring the deserts looking for lost Aztec gold or lost Mayan gold, whatever they can come upon. And they stumble upon a sort of an oasis in the desert with a hacienda owned by a guy named Bjornson, who is European, but he's moved there and has his home here. It's fairly well hidden away. It's way deep in the desert. And they look about them and they can see his property could not support him so far from civilization that he would have to have more farming going on than what they can see. So he invites them to stay with them, and at night they sneak out looking to see what else is there, hoping to find what the riches that they're looking for. while they're out in the jungle searching around, they stumble across a young woman who seems to attract a bunch of moths that are very beautiful, pearlescent, and luminous. Very strange kind of moth that they've never seen before. Kennedy thinks the moths are going to be worth a lot of money and wants to get them. So he goes after the girl when she turns and runs. But they stumble into Bjornsson, and Bjornsson tries to kill Kennedy and Colin. But the fight between the three of them is stopped by a pack of dogs that suddenly comes out of the jungle. So Colin and Mr. Kennedy are knocked out. When they come to, they're surrounded by tall, pale men, kind of the same coloration as the dogs. And these men take Colin and Kennedy to their cave. They escape, but in trying to escape, Kennedy gets recaptured, and so O'Neill has to leave him behind. The story abruptly jumps to 15 years later, and we're at O'Hara's house, and he has a house in the U.S. now, living with his sister. All of a sudden, strange break-ins start occurring, and O'Hara tracks this to a Mr. Reed, who has an odd collection of animals that he's been experimenting on. So at this point, O'Hara's trying to find out more about this character, this Mr. Reed, and he has a woman at the house that Mr. Reed claims is mentally deranged, and O'Hara doesn't want to accept the guy's word. He needs to find out more, so he sneaks in there after hours, and that's where he sees these animals, that they are all kinds of very strange experiments, very much like Wells in The Island of Dr. Moreau. And as a matter of fact, there's even reference made to The Island of Dr. Moreau. So O'Hara gets captured, and while captured, finds out that Reed is actually Kennedy, still alive and escaped from the Mayans, or Aztecs rather. They were Aztecs. And Kennedy / Reed is now bent on controlling the whole world. He destroyed the Aztec city, killed all the Aztecs, escaped, wants to destroy the whole world. But then another switch comes in this story. One of there were gods in the Aztec city, living gods. One of them is Quetzalcoatl, and the other one is Nakak Yaotl, something like that. Well, Nakak takes over Kennedy, and it appears the god has been in control all along. Kennedy isn't really there. Kennedy is just a puppet being used by this Aztec god. And that's when Quetzalcoatl also appears back in the story, and the two of them do battle. The story goes through a number of transformations, and the transformations they make sense for the story because it keeps. They make sense for the story because it keeps you engaged in the story. You get this mystery revealed like layers of an onion. And every time you hit a new layer, it's a total change in what type of story you're reading. I mean, the very beginning is like a lost race story, like Conan Doyle's Lost World. And then it shifts to 15 years later, and it's The Island of Dr. Moreau. And then it shifts to this battle of the gods at the end. But the whole thing is this story. The whole thing is taking you towards that battle at the end, gradually revealing what's really going on, and that the other aspects of the story were just like smoke screens, hiding the real thing that's going on behind the scenes here. So the story is very enjoyable as a pulp adventure. I mean, this is really pulpy, very adventurous. A lot of twists and turns to the plot to get to the ending. In the ending, the gods are these weird creatures and such. The final battle is really epic. And obviously there's influence of H.G. Wells here. There's influence of H. Rider Haggard. There's influence of Arthur Conan Doyle and other Lost World stories. So lots of influence is going on. And I can see influence of this story on some of what Lovecraft was to do, particularly with Reanimator and with the Dunwich Horror. So I can see where this had some impact on H.P. Lovecraft, but this still is not inventing dark fantasy. Okay, the statement that I've been investigating, whether or not Francis Stevens really did invent dark fantasy. No, this story is maybe it's new and it's inventive and it's fresh and it's imaginative, but it's a mashup of, like you say, H.G. Wells, H. Rider Haggard, Arthur Conan Doyle, the ending a lot like Lair the White Worm by Bram Stoker, all these things published before Citadel of Fear was published. So she's borrowing from all these things, but putting them together in kind of a new way. I also see some influences here of Fu Manchu. Doesn't make it a bad story. It is a good, enjoyable story, but this isn't the invention of dark fantasy that people are trying to claim for Francis Stevens. Dark fantasy already existed. She's just adding to it, and she's adding to it in a good way. She's a good writer. The characters are really good. The plot is, with all its twists and stuff, it's very pulpy, but it's excellent pulp. Okay, it's pulp fiction done right. So it's good fiction. It's really good, and I do recommend it. I think this is one that any fantasy fan should check out and read. But no top tail here, and nothing. She didn't really break any huge new ground here. But I will admit this has got to be considered a fantasy and pulp and adventure classic. So the Citadel of Fear, have you read it? If so, leave your comments in the comments section. I definitely want to hear from you. I want to hear what you think of this book, if you've read it. If not, that's fine too. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, either way, and come on back. The next Francis Stevens is going to be one Emily and I read together, number 6. It's called Behind the Curtain. It's just a short story, but that's the next Francis Stevens, number 6. So come on back and join me for that and all the rest of the Francis Stevens and everything else we cover here in Telltale Books.